Man, I almost forgot the De-Escalator existed. And I gotta say, I've been using it a lot lately. Too bad it comes from the Force of Law Warbond. Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're gonna be taking a look at the De-Escalator. It only occurred to me now that I haven't actually talked about this weapon. I mean, the only time I think I ever brought it up was 11 months ago in the actual Warbond review. But it hit me recently, like literally, that I should actually cover it. I was curious what my old opinions were on my first video talking about the whole Warbond, and I didn't really get much out of it. And because I can't remember what it was like, I'm mostly starting off with fresh opinions. But since I know how to read, we can actually go back and take a look at this weapon's history. Some of the more notable features about this weapon's history was that around October, it got a durable damage and damage increase, going from 55 to 100 with a durable increase of 55 to 70. They changed a little bit of the projectile, but then they gave it a very big buff, decreasing the reload time, while also giving it stage reload. What do you mean it didn't have stage reloading? Come on, that's a little silly. Like, look at it, it's round reload, come on! This basically solved the issue of pulling on this little tab every time your reload gets interrupted, but in a game like Helldivers, interrupting your reload is pretty common, which made this weapon very unbearable to use. And stack that on the slow reload speed and you just have a gun that's very not fun. But compile all the buffs it received, and I gotta say, it's doing pretty damn well for itself. Lightning bolt! As someone who hates Alpha Commanders for running away, this is nice.
But Gundam Boy, tell him about the Warbond!
And yes, if you want to get this weapon for yourself, of course, it's in the Force of Law Warbond on the second page specifically. So I would understand if it's a hard purchase, because a lot of the weapons in this Warbond on release was not that good. Because you had, what, Guard Dog Team Kill, Tickle Me Elmo's Assault Rifle, and then you have the De-Escalator before the buff, and then you have the Get Kicked and Blocked Special. But yeah, I think you get the point. Looking at its stats, we can see that the current version of the De-Escalator has quite a bit going for it. It has a big arc range, it has 100 damage with 70 durable, it is heavy pen, and it has a small stun effect. 100 damage sounds a little low, but the grenade launcher does output 10 arcs each, which will make a lot more sense in how it can deal so much damage against a lot of targets. It takes a lot of damage to be able to give something like Alpha Commander. Something that I can't tell if it was intentional for the grenade launcher is that you can no longer damage yourself with the arc. Like, you can stand as close as you want in the 10-meter blast radius and nothing will hit you. I mean, you're more likely to get hit by the actual projectile than the grenade exploding. Doctor, I need a stim! Before we continue with the video, I just want to let you guys know I finally got some merch. So check out my Orchid 8 link down below if you guys want to get stuff. Where this weapon performs best is going up against light chaff enemies and the smaller heavy units, as it does have the ability to take them down. And with its rapid fire rate, it allows you to get that ammo out really quickly, letting you ammo dump your DPS outwards, but at the cost of having to put every single round back in the gun. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty heavy on the trigger all the time, and I tend to need a supply pack because of how much I fire. The De-Escalator, when it comes to being a grenade launcher, really does break the mold, since its way of dishing out DPS is very different. Explosive weapons have its own damage category, and often rely on a blast radius from an inner and an outer radius to manage its damage. It's consistent and a stable way of dishing out damage. The Escalator, however, is a arc weapon, which means it follows its own rules. While it does have something similar to an explosive radius, it targets the nearest enemy and functions more like a bullet, which is devastating for whoever's at the epicenter of this blast. This is 10 arcs condensed into one target, and when it comes to its functionality as a counter chaff weapon, it excels. Already having a pretty wide blast radius with 10 meters and the ability for this weapon to chain arc damage, and the fact that chaff units are chaff, which means they don't survive a lot anyways, makes this grenade launcher a pretty good option. In terms of performance against heavy counters, it's alright. It will let you maintain a lot of the control of the fight with them. Heavier armored enemies will make you have to chunk through more of that durable damage. It won't outperform anything that's a dedicated anti-tanker, but its versatility makes it really neat for being able to handle both. But it's still a heavy pen weapon that you need to aim with if you're going up against heavier targets. Now, there is a very obvious trait about this weapon that I think is often overlooked. Of course, you can always fire all your rounds into the face of the enemy head-on, but you're not always going to be able to hit them in their weak point in a head-on situation. This is where we can actually utilize the grenade's ability to bank damage off of surfaces, allowing us to get a better attack angle on enemies without having to go through heavier armored points. Or you can just say fuck it and bank it off the heavy enemies in the area. This allows for a very adaptable playstyle to keep enemies off of you, which is boosted by certain environments that have a lot of terrain that you can abuse, which I love to use in city environments. And because it is an arc weapon, it doesn't have the ability to close bug holes. But let's see how it fares against the enemy factions. Starting off with a bug front, if this image doesn't help you understand how good it is, then nothing will. If the bugs could talk, they would say that this weapon's unfair, and they would put it in some kind of Geneva Convention. A weapon with this type of damage output allows you to level a grand majority of anything the bugs will throw at you. A direct hit is instant death. Hitting anything else around you, bonus points. Spewers and Alpha Commanders are probably one of the few enemy units that will tank a bit of the shots more often than others, but that's easily countered by aiming for their face, which lets you condense all of the arcs to do more damage. Going up against heavier units like chargers, well, you can stop them mid-charge. And since they have that exposed flesh underneath, you can use the banking shot method to take out the guts above. But if you want to go through the back door, you can aim for their ass side with the grenade launcher and bank some shots right up into it. Going up against the Impaler, they die. Going up against the Bile Titan, if it's an enemy that you need gone now, then the De-Escalator is gonna be for you. Bile Titans can be very tanky creatures. However, you can disable their ability to spit on you by just firing the grenade launcher in its tummy a few times, which can open up an opportunity for a counter. Going up against several Bile Titans might not be ideal for this weapon. Moving on to the bot front, I'd have to say the performance is about the same as the bugs. It's pretty good. The De-Escalator will absolutely dog walk every enemy up to the Hulk. If you focus all of your arc into one enemy, Devastators will just kind of die, while indirect hits might take 2 to 3 more shots depending on the angle. Reinforced Scout Striders are just as vulnerable, whether you hit them in the crotch and they die, break their leg because it's light pen, or they just hit their missiles and completely detonate. Going on to the Hulk, you can one-shot them in the eye. De-Escalator can actually halt the advances of Hulks if you hit him enough times, which gives you plenty of options to counter the Hulk while it's recovering, or in my case, reload. And even if you don't land your shots directly, you still chunk health out of this guy. Check out this headshot. Watch this. Watch. Bunk. Bang. Dead. Gone. Now, heavier units on the bot front are more abundant. Everyone's favorite enemy unit, the War Strider, is notoriously annoying to kill with this weapon. When you're just firing blindly at it, it takes around 12 shots. In theory, you could kill it at the hip joints, but I'm too fucking blind to be able to do that. You have to also keep in mind the arc is more likely to hit the waist and the leg than it will be able to hit that hip joint, and it's way too small. But you do have the advantage at ripping its guns apart. War Striders only have 500 health on that arm, so give them the same treatment they give our mechs and steal their shit. Going up against the tank units, you're not going to be able to damage most of the tanks if you're attacking them on their heavy armor, which means you'll have to attack their backside. And while it's not great for head-ons, the De-Escalator is actually a really good option for crippling tanks. Aim for the treads of a tank and you will stop them from moving. I straight up put this guy on cinder blocks. If the shot lands just right, you can take out the chin guns on a Factor Strider in one shot. Just look out that it can shoot back. With the only real way to counter the Factor Strider being to shoot it in its eye, which can take at least 2 full mag dumps into it. You can also take it down at the stomach, but overall against Factor Striders, I wouldn't recommend. And lastly, we have the Illuminate front, where it performs pretty damn well against the hordes of Chafflings. Your typical Overseer can't last more than 2 shots if you land it just right. However, you have to be very precise with this one. Q-tip Overseers do have a shield that will absorb a good portion of the damage, making it a little difficult to counter them. But as soon as that guard drops, well, it's fair game. Going up against something like a Flesh Mop, it can take around 4 shots to kill, making it a fairly good counter. Harvesters, however. Harvesters are a completely different challenge for this weapon. I have a working theory about why it doesn't perform as well against Harvesters, and it's not just their shields. There's a large variety of parts on the Harvester that you can hit, but because the overall design of where its hitboxes are so complex, this might be giving the grenade launcher a struggle. So taking down Harvesters with it is not exactly the best, but I gotta say, that's a small trade-off for the capability of wiping out entire voteless hordes. Well, the current version of the De-Escalator is actually a really fun weapon. It has no problem dealing with a wide variety of enemy units, except for the heaviest of the heavies. And for those of you who are still slugging it out in the super credit farming scene, it might not be worth it to get the Force of Law Warbond just to get the De-Escalator. But that is the end of the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hype this video if you're on mobile, and I will see you guys next time.